Are you someone who finds yourself saying yes to things when what you really want to do is say no, but you do it to either keep the peace or avoid disappointing someone? If so, just know that you are not alone in this. And in this video, I'm going to share some tips as to how you can start breaking free of this people-pleasing cycle that you're in and really learn to start setting some boundaries so that you can honor yourself and your own peace. When we don't have boundaries set, or when we ignore the boundaries we set and allow people to overstep them, really it's just hurting us. We're the ones that suffer the emotional consequences from it, whether it's exhaustion, whether we feel resentment towards the other person. And really, it's this disconnect from self. By learning to set these boundaries, you're really showing your self love and you're putting yourself first. I have a lifetime of stories that I could share where I do the opposite of this, where I don't have boundaries set or where they've been crossed. But what I will share is really what it was that made me finally start setting boundaries and being firm with them and sticking to them, and how it worked and how it helped shift things. Back in 2016, I went into business for myself. And, I'd worked in various offices, like office settings, my entire career before that. And I was always a fast worker, so I was always willing to pick up the slack for other people, take on extra work, whatever. And it became something that I felt like proud of, like, oh, I could do all this work. I can do so much more than these other people, and I can always say yes and take on more. But really, aside from just, burning myself out, there would be this resentment. Well, why am I working so hard and my workload is so much heavier than these other people and who are just kind of coasting through? But, they didn't do that. I did that. I took it on. Unfortunately, when I went into business for myself, I took this pattern with me. And as growing a business and having clients coming on and really wanting to keep them happy, I just made myself overly available. I would drop whatever I was doing if they needed something. They came first no matter what. I would work nights, I would work weekends, I would even work on vacation. All that did is set up this level of expectation for them that I was always available. On my side, I was getting burnt out and I was getting run down. And it wasn't until my husband and I decided to make a move. We lived in California at the time and we moved to the East Coast. And so we're in Asheville, North Carolina. And my clients were all West Coast. So I knew, I was like, I have to really set a firm boundary here about what's going to be expected with this time difference. So I set this boundary that, once I moved, 5 p.m. Eastern time, I was done working. And, it wasn't completely seamless. There was some reminding. But in general, once I really stuck firm to that boundary, guess what? They listened and they respected that boundary that I set. It was a very empowering thing. And it gave me back a lot of peace in my life. So let's talk about people pleasing for a minute. Not everybody knows where their people pleasing habits come from. In general, it typically is something that forms during childhood. When you're young, you're looking for ways that you will be loved and appreciated and accepted and cared for, and you want to feel safe. So you learn to do things that don't upset other people. They don't rock the boat or cause conflict. And you find that you get acceptance and you get love and all the things you're looking for. Those of us who become people pleasers out of it, it's what worked for us. For me, I was very, very shy when I was young, very shy. And I had a hard time speaking up for myself and voicing my opinion. And honestly, it's something I still work on. People pleasing, for me, I think comes from that. I was very quiet. I wasn't a loud, outgoing person. So with my friends, I was the one that was always making sure everyone else was happy. And I do that just a lot in life. I'm like the peacemaker. But the problem is when it turns into people pleasing, it's at our own detriment, not somebody else's. Setting boundaries, it's really important in general, but especially for those of us who have that people pleasing mentality. If we don't set up boundaries, we are just giving and giving of ourselves without looking out for ourselves. And people think of boundaries and they think, oh, it's this really harsh thing and you're putting this wall up. But that's not what it is at all. It's really about creating this like sacred agreement with yourself and with those who you choose to share your time and your energy with. You're not pushing them away, you're inviting them in a way that feels safe for you. It feels like a comfortable amount. You feel this like nervous system reset almost when you have that like safety and you feel seen and heard and respected. When you set these boundaries, especially as a people pleaser, it's very empowering. You get this feeling of like, wow, I can actually do this and people will listen to me. You don't always have to be like firm and harsh with them. You can be very gentle with your boundaries. There are a few things that you can do to just kind of start noticing in your body specifically what you feel around certain things. So just in day-to-day life, start noticing the cues that your body is giving you. When a boundary is being crossed or about to be crossed, or you're about to do something that is really this like self-abandoning feeling where you're giving up what's important for you to help somebody else or please somebody else, you'll get this feeling. Sometimes it could be tension, this feeling of dread, that like feeling like that pit in your stomach. And notice when those things come up and see, is it specifically when they come up around somebody asking you to do something or asking you for something? And instead of just having that gut reaction saying yes, when everything in your body is saying no, you can do a few things. You can do what is referred to as a pause phrase, where instead of just immediately being like, yes, I'll do it, say, let me get back to you about that. Maybe someone's asking you to do something at work and your plate's full. Maybe it's a weekend plan and you're just like, I don't know if I have it in me. Just by saying, let me get back to you on that, you give yourself time that you can sit with it. So you sit with it for a minute or a couple days, even whatever it may take, and see where it feels like in your body. Does it feel good to say yes, or do you really want to say no? And then you practice saying no with love. Like, it doesn't have to be this harsh no. It doesn't have to be this like, no, I set a boundary to this, I'm not crossing it. But you can be gentle, and being gentle doesn't mean you're weak. In terms of things you can say, it's something like, oh, that doesn't work for me right now, or thank you for thinking of me, but I'm going to have to pass right now. And interestingly, I think I said that semi-recently and I didn't even realize I did it, because it's just become a thing where I said no to something because at that time it wasn't right. And it feels good to do it, and you're doing it in a way that's not this harsh, off-putting thing. You're doing it in a way that you're really looking out for yourself. So just to kind of recap what we talked about, setting these boundaries is very, very important. Number one, to just start breaking this people-pleasing cycle, but also just for looking out for yourself and showing yourself more love and more self-care. And do that by paying attention to your body, to the cues your body gives you, and practicing either with your pause phrase or lovingly saying no, and just start working with that. And I would really recommend just finding one area where you need to set a boundary. For me, the easy one was work and with clients. For you, it might be a family situation or something with a friend or whatever it may be. It could be a million things. But find one area that you've really struggled and just see if you can start making these shifts. And I would love if you would comment below and either let me know what it is that's your struggle and where your boundary is, like what your challenge boundary is. Or if you have one that you overcame, feel free to share, because you might give somebody an amazing idea of how they can deal with their own struggle that they're going through with boundaries. And this is going to actually be a 3-part series because I have more to talk about with boundaries. So if you liked this, feel free to hit the like button and follow me if you want to get the next 2 videos.